Okay, today I'm going to be rebuilding a peerless 820 and showing you how to pull them apart and put them back together without damaging anything. Okay, this is my peerless 820. I took it out of a Murray GT about a few weeks ago, probably 3, and everything on this thing was seized up. I may be able to post a picture of it. I'm not sure if I will get it to go up or not, but the axles were all rusted onto the hubs. And one of the main things I didn't know, because this is my first time redoing an 820, is when you pull apart the case, there's a, you have to make sure, get all the rust off of this first, because as you lift the casing, this will, there's, will try and pull up on the stuff, and if you don't do that, I'll show you in a minute, but you just want to slide this up along with it, and then it should slide out. And then you're going to see something like this in there. Make sure that you watch, because there's BBs and a spring that will be above this, which will fall out normally in the grease around in that area. So y'all feel around and find that. Okay, now that you have it apart, the problem why you have to lift up, get the shifting rod to slide down while you move the casing up is because this here is bolted, and if you try and pull it apart, it's not going to go. You'll get the case to about this height and it'll be stuck there. But when I pulled this thing apart, all these gears were completely rusted up and covered in diesel. I poured about, this thing had almost a quart of water inside of it, and it was, when it shifted, because this was all completely rust covered. Okay, so what you want to do is you can either use carburetor cleaner, which cleans off the grease pretty fast, or you can soak it in diesel for about a night and rinse them off, and they'll normally be clean. Want to inspect all these needle bearings here that are inside these, make sure none of them are broken or anything. And just on this, I'm going to be refilling it full of 90 weight gear oil, which I'll be doing in another video, because I'm planning on locking this into a posi, but I haven't pulled the case this apart yet, so showing you the main parts of it if you're just planning on fixing one. So on your way of putting these things back together, after you clean everything out, you can either pack it full of grease, or what I'm going to do is fill it full of oil. As you go to put the casing back on, you're going to have to watch these, or stuff will not align. These got little marks here, which you have to lift up and get. There's one on each side of this little bushing. There's one there and there. You're going to want to get them level with the edging of the case, or the top case will not go on properly. You're going to want to check all of these to make sure they're level or on the notches. These also have them, as you can see, but they sit down on the edge of the casing. If you got all that back together, it should be good. You should grease fill it, and you're going to want to use something like, I use high temperature RTV silicone gasket maker for this, and you're going to want to put a bead all along the whole edges. I put them on both sides of this and everything. But before you do that, you're going to want to scrape off any original gasket that was there or anything else and wire brush it, so that you get a good seal, so it doesn't let any more water in and you have to fix it again. Now, as you put it back together, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to put the spring in the little bearing back in after you put this in. You're going to want to shove this thing completely out. This has to be completely out. Yeah, put it in a little bit of an angle where these here will slide onto this collar here. If those aren't on there, it will not shift, and then you'll obviously have problems. So what you're going to want to do is you've got to get those lined up, and then it should slide down, and you just get the casing to slide back down on there. Before you put everything back together, make sure the input shaft spins freely, because if it don't, you're going to have something's obviously misaligned in there or binding. So as you put bolts in, you're going to want to put one on like each corner, I'd say, and tighten the ones across from each other on each side, just not super tight, but just decent. And then you're going to want to do the others. And the reason for this is so the casing will not warp. Okay. That's my guide on how to rebuild a Peerless 820. If you have any other questions, just leave a comment below and I'll tell you what I know. I'll be locking this thing in another video. Comment, like, and subscribe.